you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Just because you create the meaningful conditions or conditions for meaningful work doesn't necessarily mean people are taking it up.
Yeah.
And that can be really frustrating for leaders in any field. When you put hard work in and your staff just doesn't really seem interested. They're just there to do the job.
Yeah.
So bottom up, even if leadership isn't on board, I've done a lot of coaching work with people in organizations who say, well, my leaders just don't care about me experiencing work as meaningful. They just need me to get the job done. And that's what I'm being paid for. They're just not on board with all of this positive psychology, woo-woo meaning stuff. And you can create a lot of meaning personally. And we can show you 2 models, which we're going to do later anyway. But that's bottom up. We can create meaning. And sometimes that takes on. Sometimes the people who work for the company, they just decide work to be more meaningful, or they have the conversations of how what they care about personally actually shows up in work. They make the connections, or they decide to use their strength more in a different way at work. And then they feel work is more meaningful, not because of something that has been done for them, but because of something that they have done.
It's really interesting. I've discovered this when I used to recruit, when I was director of internal audit and risk. Recruiting was a really fascinating process for me because I wanted to understand why people got into the vocation or the profession that they were in. Because for me, there was a link. I could see a link between why they were doing it, why they got into it in the first place, and their connection to it, whether it was meaningful or not, whether it was like something that they felt passionate about and that's why they went into it, or whether it was something more transactional, less about meaning and more about circumstances, that he was going to provide them with something. I say it transactional, I mean, transactional being less connected to emotion and more about practicalities. And you can see that when you're interviewing people, can't you? And there's no right or wrong. It's not that we want all of our team filled with people who are really connected and they've got meaning coming out of their pores, but it's an interesting way to understand what's going to motivate somebody.
Yeah, and I wish we would change the recruiting game more into that direction, because when you choose your recruiters, I think you can choose recruiters who recruit for meaning and strength. Who choose somebody because I had this idea of recruiting as well. I thought it was going to be so psychologically interesting, matching the right person with a job description. And then what I've heard from recruiters was, oh no, we just make 1,000 calls and then 100 people are interested and 10 are going to buy in. So, then I get my commission. And I'm like, oh, that has nothing to do with psychology at all.
No.
And I'm obviously very much simplifying it. But if you do, you've got a chance, right? When you try to fill a job role, hire the recruiters and create a process where you can check in, where you can make it more likely that somebody's going to open up. I've been in a lot of really bad interviews where people are just not interested in me as a person. So I just told them what they wanted to hear. And I've been interviewing people where I felt they're just trying to tell me what I want to hear to get the job. So creating a process where we can create a connection where they feel, oh, this person seems to be on board with what I care about, and they only want to hire people who care about this, and they can pick up whether somebody cares about something or just pretends to.
Yes.
I think it's a crucial part in the process of creating a culture is to hire the right people. And that starts with having that conversation.
Yes.
And can be difficult when you have, too many applicants. But I think it's worth it because you're going to, in the end, you're going to save a lot of money hiring the right people.
Yes.